Hey everybody, this is Rob Release at Rob the Movie Buff on Twitter and at Rob Release on Letterboxd. Hope everyone is doing well, and I'm here to review the films Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves and Sisu. Dungeons and Dragons is directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly. It stars Chris Pine as Edgin Darvis, a bard and former member of the Harpers in Order of Peacekeepers. Michelle Rodriguez as Helga Kilgore, a barbarian warrior who was exiled from her elk tribe. Joseph Smith as Simon Omar, a half-elf sorcerer dealing with massive confidence issues. And Sophia Liz as Doric, a druid with the power to transform into any animal or creature needed. Edgin, Helga escaped captivity for crimes of thievery and are now attempting to find Edgin's daughter Kira, played by Chloe Coleman, and reunite. Edgin and Helga took care of Kyra together after Edgin's wife was killed and work as thieves alongside Forge McWilliam, played by Hugh Grant, and a sorcerer, Safina, played by Daisy Head. They one day leave Kyra to go on a quest to find a tablet of reawakening that could bring back Edgin's wife, but unfortunately Edgin and Helga were captured, and Edgin asked Forge to protect Kyra. Now out of prison, the pair go to Neverwinter, where Forge has surprisingly become a lord. But when they try to elicit his help, they find he has lied to Kyra and made Edgin out to be someone who left his daughter for treasure and conquest instead of bringing back her mother. They then have to escape Neverwinter and return with reinforcements found in the form of Simon and Doric to find a way to get Kyra and get the tablet. Full transparency, I've never played the Hasbro game that this film is based on, though I know of friends who are big into it. The first couple trailers for this movie didn't really do all that much for me, but the last one did, and also the fact that Goldstein and Daly did the film game night a few years back, and I remember being so impressed with cinematography and use of creative one-take shots, especially for it being a studio comedy. Though it was in the later stages of its opening release, I did make trip out to see this movie and really did come away super impressed. Probably far more with this than the Super Mario Brothers movie. There's a great combination of practical set design of the kingdoms and landscapes to go along with pretty good visual effects. Not Avatar level, but very good in its own right, along with the animals and creatures using both animatronics and VFX. Cinematographer Barry Peterson, who also worked on Game Night, he really did a great job. An excellent job, in my view, of making the camera movement and sequence interesting and always flowing. Again, with a lot of one-ers, or some appearing to be fully one-take shots, whether it was a sword fighting human to an animal creature transition and movement from one part to another, whether it was action scenes, flashback scenes, and frozen time scenes. The camera always felt like it was being used in a creative and interesting way. It never felt done for ease or shot at every possible angle, but instead choreographed to constantly surprise and engage the viewer. Some of the best action comedy scenes in the movie include Regé-Jean Page as Zenk Yender, a paladin who helps the team find a magical object that can help them sneak into Neverwinter. The performances as a whole are really fun, and the chemistry for the whole cast is really dynamic. Pine plays Edgin as someone who thinks he has all the answers and ways to get people out, but later admits his own faults and tries to be better. Rodriguez is a fantastic scene partner opposite him for much of the movie, and I feel like this is some of her best work in a while. And I really like how her character is forced to embrace a new kin despite her being reluctant at first. Justice Smith usually gets stuck with really annoying characters, but while Simon's lack of confidence is a theme in the movie and it's played for some laughs, it's done in a way that's relatable for the audience, and then when he's pushed to it, the character does accomplish what needs to get done. Sophia Liz's character Doric is someone who deals with not being fully human and basically being a massive outsider, and she's not really trusting of either humans or her own kind, but her powers to transform into any creature needed really makes for some incredible action sequences. And Hugh Grant, he's just having a ball with this role, as he does with a bunch of villainous roles, including Paddington 2 and The Gentleman, and he adds really a lot of levity with all the quips that he has. If I had any negatives, as well shot and footprint as the flashback and exposition scenes are. The movie could have relied on them a bit less. Also, I've never been a huge cut things and footage just to cut them type of viewer, but if runtime were shortened like 10 to 15 minutes, it would have been practically perfectly breezy. And while most of the comedy is great, a few bits do go a bit long. But overall, this is one of the more surprisingly well done blockbusters based on board game / video game source material in a while. And I do hope it makes enough money for Paramount to consider making sequels. Overall, it's about a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10, so probably a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd for me. Now into Sisu, a movie I got to see an early screening of thanks to Anomaly Film Festival and the Little Theater in Rochester. Sisu is directed by Jalmari Helander and starring Jorma Tommila as a gold miner in Finland near the end of World War II who finds a fortune in gold and attempts to cash in. However, members of the German army that are occupying and destroying villages and towns in Finland encounter him, find his gold, and attempt to take it from him. The early reviews of this film kind of sold it as Mad Max meets John Wick. The character who we and the Germans who encounter trouble trying to get rid of him learn more about his story as a past soldier and warrior, and he's a man of few words accompanied by a dog, so in that sense very much like John Wick, and also in the fact that he's capable of incredible violence and carnage if he is backed into a corner. And I really liked the performance in both action scenes and quiet scenes of Jorma Tommila as this miner. The gore and death scenes in this film are very creative and fun, and as it is a revisionist revenge film, it's established early on that the lead can kind of survive and get rid of or get out of practically any situation. It does come off as ridiculous, but personally I had a lot of fun with it and didn't care because that tone's basically established from the very beginning. It's also pointed out that the German army, led by a general named Bruno, played by Axel Henny, who's also fun and great in the movie, want to kill the miner and also want to make sure that they don't affect the gold. As with the war soon ending, the general and his soldiers want enough to be able to live on while hopefully escaping any sort of war crime prosecution. They also are transporting female prisoners who have renewed hope when they see their captors being picked apart one by one, with Aino, played by Mimosa Willamo, being the leader of the group, and she has a few shining moments, including the best monologue of the movie. Cinematography by Kajel Laguros is excellent, especially showcasing the mountain and slope landscapes and the use of sunlight. This is the type of film that, with a crowd for a nut that's looking for a nuts revisionist war movie, will have a great time with, assuming they aren't nitpicking too much about the physics or the plot. Overall, me personally, I'm between like a 7 and an 8 out of 10. Right now on Letterboxd, I have it as a 4 to 5 for me. Thanks for tuning into the reviews again. Let me know if you've seen either or both of these films in the comments and what you think.